Hey, welcome back to Max Nafe Horsemanship again. And today I'm going to talk about something, might confuse you at first because I'm going to talk a little bit about my job. And because as many of you will know, playing with horses, I'm not a professional trainer. I don't do this for a living. It's a hobby. I just happen to really, really love my hobby. But I do have a job, and it changes from time to time. And not that I can't keep a job, it's just, well, I'm not going to bother explaining. But currently, what I'm doing is I'm working for a guy where we specialize in vintage vehicles. I work on vehicles that are about 1983 and older. Basically, no computers. Now, a lot of you find that a little bit odd. They're strange. You don't understand them. For me, it actually comes pretty easy, although not without challenges, because when you're working with vintage vehicles, sometimes parts availability isn't great. Things are difficult, rusted, stuck, worn out, well, all sorts of things like that. But to me, that's not a huge problem. I can deal with that stuff. And in fact, even just recently, it may seem a little extreme to some of you, but we had a vehicle we couldn't get parts for. Well, we could get the front brakes, but we couldn't get the back brakes. And our solution to the problem was change the whole differential. And we actually took one out of a completely different make and model and put it into this rather unique and obscure old truck. And we did some measuring ahead of time, and it bolted right in. A few little modifications had to be made, but all in all, the whole thing went much easier than what most people would expect, even though we changed an entire rear end from a completely different make and model. Now, I don't think that's weird though, but to me that's kind of normal. And fixing up old cars, it's working on these things. Some people struggle with this stuff, think it's a big problem. Well, I don't think it's a problem. I see something. What do you want me to do? Okay, we'll make it happen. We'll figure it out. And a lot of you are thinking right now, well, what the heck are you talking about cars for? This is a horse channel. You're right, it's a horse channel. But what does this have to do with horses? A lot, actually, quite a bit. And if you stick with me to the end of this video, I'm going to explain myself, because horses and old cars are a lot alike. There's a lot of similarities. Stick with me here. I'll explain. I got a couple horses hanging out here. I got a pocket full of treats. And yes, I hand feed horses quite regularly, and it's never been a problem. I've never been bitten, and I've been doing it for quite a few years. So, do it wrong, you can create all kinds of problems, but do it right, it's not a problem. Take a step back, sir. There you go. See, got earned keep. Anyhow, problems. Well, it's kind of two different ways that the problem thing relates to horses. One is people will have a horse with a problem. Now, the way I see it, it's simply a challenge, something to be figured out. That's bad manners. And when you figure it out, you can fix it. Now, for some of you, it may be a little beyond your skill set, and you might actually have to hire somebody to do the job for you. Well, that's okay, because it's still a lot cheaper than the alternative. Now, a lot of people, when they have a horse with a problem, they go, geez, this is a horrible problem. I'm going to sell the horse and buy another one. Well, that will probably end up costing you a whole lot more money than if you were to pay somebody to fix the problem. That's assuming that you're not capable of doing it yourself, because all problems can be fixed, and in many cases it's actually pretty easy. It's not particularly hard. I'll give you a demonstration right now. He's not really good with his manners when it comes to treats. He's getting a little pushy, sniffing and looking. No, back up, sir. Back up. No, back up. Good boy. I think I want you to take one more step. Back up. Good boy. Okay, he's learned two things. He's got to stay out of my bubble, and he's got to do something to earn his treat. You don't just randomly give horses treats. So, but that is one of the ways that problems can be solved, is, well, we'll just figure it out and deal with it and do something about it. And, you know, I don't even have any tools in my hands or nothing, and guess what? I'm dealing with a problem. And it's not even my horse. And we're dealing with it anyhow because it's to my advantage, because I don't want him being pushy when he's around me. He's a big boy. Back up, sir. Back. Back. Oh, you know how to do this. Back up. Good boy. There we go. So, unless you want to be one of those less than honest people, when you go to sell your horse, if it's got a problem you don't think can be fixed, which is not true, but a lot of people think that, and they'll actually sell the horse, and, well, if you're not 100% honest, well, I don't encourage that ever. I don't want to see people like that. No, you back up, sir. Sorry, we got to deal with things as they occur. This is how you solve problems. You don't wait. Back up, back up. There we go. Now, you can deal with a problem, or you can sell the horse, and then, like I said, you got two choices: either be honest about the problem or not honest, which I would never encourage. And if you're honest about the problem, you're not going to get top dollar for the horse. And then you're going to have to turn around and replace the horse with another horse. And, well, you're not going to get top dollar, so you're losing money there. And then you're going to have to spend lots of time and money driving around looking at horses. And, well, you're never going to find a perfect horse anyhow. So you might as well just fix the one you got, because in the end, you're going to lose a lot of money, probably a lot more than it would cost you to pay somebody with the skills needed to fix the problem. That's the first half of the equation. The other half is, you know, maybe you don't have a horse, or maybe you're looking for a second horse, and you come across a horse that actually has a problem. Oh, did you notice I didn't even have to ask him that time? He took a step back. And we've just working on this just in the last few minutes. See, he just took another step back. He's learning manners. The treats come to the horse does not come to the treats. Those are my rules. Anyhow, that's a little off topic. But the other one is, when you go out looking for a horse, a lot of people want the perfect horse. Well, most people do. And I'll tell you a little secret, there's no such thing. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but there is no such thing as a perfect horse. Every horse has problems. And you get rid of one and you're probably going to end up with another one. No, that's not manners. That's bad. Back up. Back up. There we go. Good boy. Good boy. There we go. Good boy. There's no such thing as a horse with a perfect horse. They just don't exist. You can have some really, really good horses, but guaranteed every friggin' horse out there has got an issue of some kind. And but here's the other thing, is when you're looking at horses, if you find one with a personality that you can live with, that you don't mind, and a problem that you know how to fix yourself, or you know that can be fixed fairly easily even if you got to pay somebody else, you might get a much better deal on that horse than one that is so-called perfect, because, well, like I said, they don't exist, and chances are that if they tell you the horse doesn't have a problem, they just aren't being honest with you, because every horse has problems, every horse. And they can be fixed, even some of the more extreme ones. I've seen horses that were hard to catch. Perfect example. I've worked with a few, and rather than learning how to catch the horse, I taught them to be caught. And how I go about it is, well, the initial session might take close to an hour. But after that, it's just a couple more days of reinforcing them. And, well, even years later, you might still have to occasionally reinforce. I still have to with my own horse. There's a couple things that she needs to be reminded. It's like, oh, that's how it works. Never mind. I'm going to do what you want. And as soon as I even suggest that I'm going to do something to correct her, she immediately looks at me and goes, oh, never mind. I know how this ends. And she'll do what she's supposed to do. She's very good that way. But as good as my own horse is, she's not without problems, guaranteed. And it's just whether or not you can live with them. I can. I kind of get a kick out of her in a way. She's a little strange, but I don't mind. So, but most problems are much easier to fix than you think. Like I said, the whole catching thing is, I've done a couple of them, even in a fairly large pasture. First day took me 3/4 of an hour. The next day took me 15 minutes. The next day took me 5 minutes. And this was not just catching the horse, it was teaching it to be caught. The horse had to come to me. And approaching him, now that's another story. If I'd, the very first day, if I just simply wanted to catch the horse, well, I probably could have done that in 10 minutes if you know how to do it. But that wasn't the goal. The goal was to teach the horse to be caught. And the one horse in particular, the owner apologized that it took me so long to catch the horse. And I said, no, no, no. Didn't take me that long to catch it. It took me that long to teach the horse to be caught. By the way, how long did it take to catch your horse today? Oh, about 30 seconds. Do you understand now? So the problem, it may initially seem like it takes a while to fix it, but in the end, it's going to take you a lot less time because you aren't going to have to deal with it for years. And so that's the kind of thing that we look at is, where are you winning? Many problems are easier to fix than you think, and all problems, in my opinion, are fixable. Some might be a little more difficult and require some special help. Many problems are actually quite simple if you approach it right. It doesn't really take a whole lot. My own horse back there behind me, well, she's got a couple issues and a few things that we've been working on for years that we still haven't quite figured out, but oh well. I'm willing to live with it, so I don't care. She's still a good horse to me, and I'm not about to replace her. I'm willing to live with what I got. And that's part of the thing. So if you have a horse with problems, no problem is insurmountable. There's always a solution. You can fix it. So, and in most cases, it's going to be way cheaper to fix a problem than to actually try and replace the horse. Keep that one in mind. Secondly, if you're looking for a first or even a second horse, or third or fourth, who knows, when you go out looking for a horse, remember, no such thing as a perfect horse. And you're always going to have to deal with problems of some kind. Figure out, is it worth dealing with? Is it something that you have the skills to deal with? Is it something that can be fixed relatively easy, even if you got to pay somebody else? And not only that, but if the seller is actually honest about the problems, no sir, that's not right, back up. Back up. He's got to learn manners, and we're going to do that right now. I'm actually pressing a little hard. He's ignoring me. Thinks he can get away with doing what he wants if he ignores me long enough. I suspect he's gotten away with a few things in his life. I don't know much about this horse. Excuse me, back up. There we go. Good boy. Good boy. There. So, fix the problems in your own horse. If you're looking for a second or third horse, figure out if it's something that can be fixed. And quite often, if the seller is honest about it and they admit the horse has got a problem, you might get a pretty good deal on the horse. So don't turn the horse down just because it has a problem. If in every other respect the horse is pretty darn good, it might be worth checking out, even if it's got a problem, because you might get a good deal and then you spend a little money or time fixing the problem, and the next thing you know, you got a marvelous horse. So, and generally, it's a lot easier than you think. And on the note of training, retraining, fixing problems, stuff like that, I'll share a little story. Just occurred yesterday, actually. One of the cows out here was getting a little too close to me for my horse's liking. Turns out she's not scared of cows one little bit. Back up, sir. Thank you. And if the cow got too close to me, she'd actually chase it off. So she's not scared at all. And in fact, she's protective of me with the cattle. Who knows, even in her advanced years, well, relatively speaking, maybe she could be a cow horse now. You never know. That's one of those things that you can consider with your horse. You're what they consider a lowly trail horse might turn out to be a real good cow horse, maybe a good general ranch horse. Who knows? There's always a future. Excuse me, sir. No, you back up. Thank you. And one more. You take another one. There we go. Good boy. Good boy. So there you go. They can be retrained. Problems can be solved. They can have another future. There's lots of things that can be done with them. And you don't have to get rid of your horse because it has a problem. That's going to probably cost you a lot more than fixing the problem. And when it comes to buying another horse, don't turn it down just because it has a problem, because if the seller is honest about it, you might get a good deal, and you might end up with a pretty darn good horse. Be realistic about buying a horse, though, is if it doesn't suit your needs, well, you got to have certain guidelines, but I'll talk about that in another video. In the meantime, problems can be solved. All of them can be. There's very few that, depending on the personality of the horse, maybe you can't, but keep that in mind. Problems can be solved. Don't sell your horse because you have a problem. It's going to cost you less to fix it. And when you're buying a horse, don't turn down a horse just because it has a problem. In the end, that might be a pretty darn good horse, and what you're going to save in the purchase price because it has a problem, it might cost you less than that to fix the problem, maybe nothing at all if you do it yourself, and in the end you might end up with a pretty darn good horse. So it's way easier than you think and can save you lots of money. Problems are not a problem. Have a good day.